Hello, everyone. Greetings and salutations, and welcome back to another episode of the Back of the Pack podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Walker. Thank you so much for tuning in. So, another weekend done. It's really weird. I think a lot of people probably have felt this. If you have ever done a full marathon, and heck, even for a lot of people who have done half marathons, you know that leading up to it, it is kind of a what all-encompassing thing. And so when you're done with it and life kind of returns to normal after the race, it's really strange. This has been a very strange week since getting back from the Fargo Marathon, since doing the podcast for the Fargo Marathon. Now it's been like just this normal week of kind of just back to the regular grind, not looking forward to the big trip or to the big race or anything. So it's been an odd week for yours truly. This past weekend, I hadn't run in 7 days. I had not run at all since the marathon. Dusted off the old running shoes and went and did a 5K. The Heroes for Hospice 5K is what we had this past weekend. It's weird going from a full marathon 7 days ago to a 5K. You finish the race and you're like, oh, that's it. I don't have to be out here for, 4, 5, 6 hours. Wow, this is great. A little 32-minute 5K for me. Wow, that's great. Wonderful. Woohoo. So that was interesting. A good cause, good race. The problem I have with this race is the problem I have with them every year. Because of the cause, I wish that it was a bigger race. And their problem is they are one of the holdouts. They are one of the last bastion of people who just will not do finisher medals. With a name like Heroes for Hospice, anything hero related, I feel like you could really have some fun with some kind of finisher medal. And if you had any kind of a finisher medal, I do believe that you would get more people to your event. But as it is, they flat won't do it. They do not do medals for this race. I told everyone about this. I said, hey, look, this is a race that doesn't do medals. Just be aware you are going simply for the t-shirt and to support a good cause, and you are, but no finisher medals. And I think that they're because it's a good course. It's in a good part of town. It's in Southern Overland Park. It's by Prairie Fire. If you're a local, like we all know that area. We've all done other races out there. It's a very popular area for races. I think you'd get the people, but if you're not offering the medal, I know that is keeping some folks away. So just throwing it out there. Not that anyone from Heroes for Hospice listens to this or cares what I think. I'm just throwing that out there as it would help. It would help. So anyway, it was just a little 5K. We've done this one before. No big deal. Kind of on we go with life. Just to kind of finish up Fargo real quick, and really not Fargo in particular, but just the marathoning on the whole. I did learn a couple lessons that I don't know, I either haven't learned before, which I'm sure I have, I just don't remember them, or they really stuck out this time. When we are training for marathons and training for distance running, I personally, and here on this podcast, I have never put enough stress or importance on any kind of cross training. I don't stress it on the podcast. I haven't talked to people about it, and I don't do it myself in my personal life and in my own training. But after Fargo, I'm realizing I do need to. I definitely need to incorporate it more into what I am doing. It can't just be running. And I know that's almost blasphemous to say, but at this point, with the way I am in my running career and the way my body is and my age and everything, I have to start mixing in some cross training. I have got to do some other things. Reason being, what I really noticed after Fargo was how sore I was in other places. Not just my legs. Yeah, my legs were tired, but they weren't sore. All the miles we put on these legs running, this pace, this race, this distance, like we can do the running stuff all day long. Cardio can always be a little better, but it's never going to be the legs that gives out. And it's not the legs that are really all that sore afterwards. They're tired, not sore. For me, it was the arms, it was the core, it was rib cage. It was some soreness in a lot of areas that you definitely use while you're running, but I had shown no focus on or given any attention to leading up to this race. So if you're watching the video, kind of underneath here, right here, not the bicep, which I'm not going to flex because I don't want to rip my shirt, but underneath, very, very sore from all just the arm swinging for that whole race for 26 point, well, two ideally, but we all know Fargo measured a little long, but just that swinging the whole time. So sore in the arms, sore in the rib cage and in the sternum from breathing heavy for that long for me for 5 hours and 53 minutes, just all that breathing. And of course, your core, because as you're in your running form and going, we all, I think, I'm not speaking for everyone, but for me and a lot of people I know, you just have that tendency to kind of clench your abdomen and your stomach and your core area that just kind of maintains this clinch the whole time you're running. Yeah, because I, none of us are just like loose in the gut, shall we say, for lack of a better term, and just all of our stuff flopping around. We're not flopping. No, we're trying to keep form. We're holding steady on our pace and what we're doing. So you're not just free and loose and everything's just, relaxed. No, you're tightening across your core, whether you know it or not. And so the fact that I had neglected my core and my arms and doing anything chest related and upper body and sternum, like all of that really kind of came home to roost after that race. And I imagine that had I shown some focus on it, maybe I would have gotten that PR. That Fargo definitely was a PRable course, as I said last week. Maybe I would have gotten that PR had I been in better shape in other aspects of my body other than just my legs and my cardio abilities. So, food for thought, lesson learned after the fact that I thought I would share with everyone. I think we do need to put a little more emphasis on doing things other than just running. My problem is I run, I play men's indoor soccer, just that's running as well. A little different kind of running, but still a lot of the same core muscles there. They're same group of muscles, not core, clearly. And then I play slow pitch softball, which the only thing I do is basically 12-ounce curls as we drink the night away playing men's slow pitch softball, which leads me to another lesson learned. And again, learned the hard way. This past, it was this morning or was it yesterday? Either which way, from when I'm recording this, it's been within 24 hours or less. I thought, what the heck? I ran a full marathon. I know that I had been celebrating that full marathon for a whole week. Especially when you're on the road, you run the race. Well, you're coming home, you're grabbing snacks, you're drinking soda, you're getting your fancy coffee for the road. You're doing all these things, and all of this just kind of completely reverse from what you've been doing, trying to eat healthy leading up to your race. Well, then you just go off the rails afterwards. So after a full week of being off the rails in any kind of diet or nutrition sense, I thought, what the heck? I'd step on the scale. Well, the scale screamed in pain and agony once I stood upon it. I did realize, okay, well, not that I've made dieting a big part of my marathon training plans, not nearly as much as I should, but I didn't feel like I had been too terrible. Post marathon, I just let it all hang out and I had let everything just fall off the rails and go directly to pieces. So when I got on the scale the other day, it was an eye opener. So, again, speaking of those 12-ounce curls, for the remainder of June and all the way going into July, so in early to mid July, I am going on a little boys' trip vacation that I take every year. Between now and then, which I think we leave July 10th or 11th, I'm going alcohol free. All right. I want to say I know there are times I will post things or I've said things alcohol related, and I know there are some of you out there kind of trying to leave that straight edge, clean and sober, completely dry lifestyle. And I just want you to know that I applaud you. I really, really do. Alcohol and humor is kind of my thing sometimes. Like I use alcohol in humor situations. I am a social drinker. I love going out and having a drink with people. It's something I enjoy doing. I don't do it by myself at home. I love going out and drinking with people. However, since the marathon and even probably a little before that, I know I've overindulged a little too much. I kind of used all the running that I've been doing as the excuse to I can eat and drink what I want because it's just been, half marathon after half marathon after half marathon after full marathon that I have been kind of ignoring my healthier instincts, and I've definitely indulged too often. I love to go out and have a drink with folks. Maybe I've just been way too social. We're going to go with that. We're going to blame everyone else. It's all your fault. I drink with you guys. It's your fault. But either which way. So, hey, I am cutting it out for the next month because I know that is the healthy thing to do. And as I stand here right now, this is the beginning of the 16-week training program to the Berlin Marathon in September. Yep. 16 weeks starts today. So this is the perfect time to reintroduce myself to Live and Drive for a while. I went out and got a run on lunch, which is when I usually record. I log out from my day job. I record the episode on Mondays and I get it out to you in the early afternoon or mid-afternoon. I didn't. I clocked out for lunch and I went for a run, came back, showered up, went back to work. Here I am. This is all going to be coming out just a little later because I wanted to take the time to get a run in, as this is day one for 16-week Berlin Marathon training. There are folks who are firing up. I think they're 14 weeks. No, it's their 18. I'm sorry. They're on their 18-week program now. I saw a lot of people starting up for Chicago. So if you can believe it, we're starting the training cycle for the World Marathon Majors coming up in the fall. That's crazy. But we have the 16 week to Berlin now, the 18 week to Chicago. They both start today. So if you are in one of those races and this is now suddenly like making your jaw drop and your eyes bug out, yeah, like it's upon us. It's time. It is time to start thinking about the fall World Marathon Majors. And New York runners, you're coming up. What are you guys now? Maybe 22 weeks out? Either which way, it's coming up. It's getting close. And I know it sounds like a lot when you say 16 week, 18 week, 20 week, whatever the case is. Trust me, it goes real fast. It goes by super fast. So if you're like, this is the right time, let's all maybe, well, not all, you guys do what you want. You're grown ass people. Me, I need to recenter on nutrition, cutting out the sugars. Okay, sugars are a big thing for me, and cutting out the alcohol, which is also a lot of sugar in it, and really start trying to zero in on that health. Because if I don't PR Berlin, I'm going to be real upset with myself, and there's no one to blame but myself if I don't PR Berlin. And to you Chicago runners, let me, from someone who's done it before, again, 2018 Chicago Marathon finisher here, even though I want to go back for redemption, but that's a different story. If you don't PR Chicago, that's kind of on you. I get it. Injuries happen, illness happens. There are always mitigating factors. However, if it simply comes down to did you train enough for that race and you can't PR Chicago based on your training and your commitment to training, then that's going to be on you because Chicago is flat as a freaking pancake. The crowd support is huge. There's no good reason. There's legit reasons, but there's no good reason not to PR Chicago. Berlin is much in the same vein. It is a very flat, fast course. All right. World records have fallen in Berlin. So if I don't PR, that is my fault. That is lack of preparation on my part. That is lack of proper diet, exercise, nutrition, and doing all the things, taking all the steps to run my best race. So let's, if you care to join me in this, let's all refocus our attention. And again, I get it. It's summertime. There's always going to be the cookout. There's going to be pool day. There's going to be this, that, and the other. Make your cheat day or your one bad day, one day, not your bad week, not your bad month, not your bad season. Because again, the training has already begun. And if you are coming to Kansas City for the Garmin Kansas City Marathon, your training starts now because that's right around Chicago Marathon time, where Chicago Marathon is 18 weeks, you're 19 weeks. Okay, so that's coming right up. If you're going to Des Moines, that is coming right up. If you're getting ready for Good Life Habsy in November, that's coming right up. The training all begins. So I'm throwing this out there so that you can start to focus up and be ready for these events because they're coming. All right, let me back off that. And again, I kind of got in the spiel, and please don't think I'm taking shots at you. I'm most certainly not. This is, I'm also trying to pump myself up for this because marathon training is a serious commitment. Anyone who's done it knows it affects a lot of your life. And so we're coming up to it. It's happening. So this weekend, so the first week of marathon training for me for Berlin, we finish on Sunday with a 5-mile run. That's the first long run for all of us doing Berlin training. So what are we doing this weekend? Okay, last weekend we did Heroes for Hospice. This weekend we're going completely off the rails and we're absolutely freaking ridiculous because in essence, we're going to do a full marathon. The difference is we're splitting it up over 2 days. So we're going to do back-to-back half marathons this weekend coming up. Why? Because we make bad decisions. And we're celebrating the birthday of one of our good friends of the podcast, Cody. It's Cody's birthday. He wanted to run the Clinton Historic Half Marathon. Okay, well, I signed up for that, so we're good. Let's do that. Oh, the next day on Sunday, you also want to run the hometown half up in, St. Joe, Missouri? Well, I guess we're in for that too. So I've never done this before. This is actually going to be brand spanking new to me. Yes, I've done half marathons. Yes, I've done full marathons. I have never done a half marathon back to back, separate days. Both of them with an hour plus drive to get from my place to the race. So we're going to have 5 a.m. wake up calls, if not earlier, both Saturday and Sunday as we get ready for the Clinton Historic Half in Clinton, Missouri, and then the hometown half in St. Joseph, Missouri. And for this Kansas boy, that is a lot of time in Missouri. Why do I do these things? This is terrible. So that's what we got coming up for the podcast. Hopefully we'll see some of you guys at these races. The Clinton one, I think we've got quite a few people who are going to be at that. The one in St. Joe, I have no idea. I've never been up to St. Joe to run a race. I've driven through there before on my way to other places. So I've never run a race there. I couldn't tell you what to expect. It's at a park. So it's going to be a, kind of a closed course, probably not many spectators. And if I saw the map correctly, it is just going to be a 6.5 mile out and back. So that's just going to be riveting. But this is what we do. They look like they have a cool medal, and Cody said he wanted to do that for his birthday. So that's what I'm going to do on Father's Day. On Father's Day. Yes, the back of the Packettes are just going to have to wait for me to get home mildly exhausted from my second half marathon in 2 days, but that's fine. We'll eat something, but we will not have a drink, right? No celebratory drink. And for Father's Day, we'll eat something. We'll try and find something mildly nutritious. We're going to go with that. Okay. So, boy, I knew I was going to do this episode, and I hate doing this. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. But we're going to do it anyway. All right. We're just going to rip the Band-Aid right off. I said at the beginning of the year, this was going to be the make or break year for this podcast. And I think primarily we're making it. All right. I think we're doing really well. Like the support goes up every week. I get a lot of positive feedback, and trust me, I love and cherish every kind word you guys say to me. I am never going to be one of those people who takes any of it for granted, because I've also heard the bad things people have said about me, and I prefer to just focus on the good ones. But the thing that we're going to do, and I told you we're going to do this, the thing that people like the most, the section or the segments or the part of this podcast that people like the most are the race reviews. When I review a race, especially those out of town. Okay, so like this past Saturday, I did Heroes for Hospice. It was a 5K. It's a 5K a lot of people have done. Even if I did turn by turn and told you about every aspect of that race, I couldn't fill an entire episode with it. Now, when we go somewhere like Fargo, North Dakota, and we have 5K the night, on the Friday night, and then the full marathon on Saturday, and an entire traveling experience, okay, that I can fill an entire episode with. And those are always the favorite episodes. And trust me, I love doing them. The thing that we cannot continue to do is a lot of these travel episodes, as it just kind of comes out of the Walker family household funds. Both my Mrs. Back of the Pack podcast and myself, we got our full-time jobs and we do all of our things. And then a lot of the money goes towards races and doing distance races so we can cover them for the podcast. Now, is the podcast a business? Yes, it is. I filled out the paperwork. We are an official business registered in the state of Kansas. You can find us through the Kansas Secretary of State. So that will be super great someday when tax season rolls around, maybe get a little bit of chunk back for all the expenses we put up. But if we want to keep doing this, we've got to get a little help. And so to get that little bit of help, I told you we were going to do this. We are launching. It's been launched. I've just never published it. Honestly, it's been launched for months and months and months now. I've just never shared it or put it out there because I hate this so much. But there is now a Patreon page for the podcast. Now, I am not just asking for your money, okay? I have tried to set this up so that anything you do, anything you are willing to do, anything you feel called to do, anything that, hey, I want to help the podcast, or hey, I just want to kind of generally support what you're doing, super great. Everyone should get something. All right. I'm going to try and do what I can for anyone who helps. So what I did on the Patreon page is we've got a few different sections. Okay. Now we have what we call the 5K. The 5K is just general support. You can sign up for the 5K, and that's just $5 a month. You pay $5 a month. And trust me, that goes a long way towards helping us do things like these shirts that we lost a lot of money on the first time around. We can get the store put together and we get it set up. We can get everything done right. Okay. But that takes a little funding, little charge on the front end so that we can get the shirts out to everyone on the back end. So that tier is the 5K, and that's general support. The next tier we have is the 10K. Haha. So we have $5 a month for the 5K, 10K. Guess how much? $10 a month. Your 10K, your $10 a month, again, greatly helps the podcast. We will give you a 10% discount on the store once it is built and functioning. So you'll have a code. It'll be your code. If you want a t-shirt, I hope to do hats because you guys know I love hats. Maybe a mug or whatever, stickers, bracelets, anything that we might put out there, because there's actually been demand for it. If you are a 10K subscriber to the show on the Patreon page, you will have a code for 10% off. Okay, like reasonable? I hope reasonable. I'm going for reasonable here since I'm kind of asking for help here. The next tier is the half marathon. Guess how much that is? $13.10 a month. I don't know. I thought this was kind of fun. If you're going to do something, you might as well have some fun with it. So with that, you'll get the 10% discount, and then we'll give you a shout out. You can get a shout out on the show or on the Facebook page, on social media or whatever. I'll give you a shout out. I got no problem. If you're going to support this show, if you have a little off-brand business or something, if you have your own little podcast, if you've got your Etsy page, I'll pimp your stuff. I got no problem with that. So if you do the half marathon, you get a shout out. You can choose what that looks like, and then 10% off. And then lastly, we have the full marathon. The full marathon is $26.10 a month. For that, you'll get 15% off the store. You get the shout out. And this has actually been requested. I am not just making this up. I promise people have asked for this. We will have bonus episodes for full marathon Patreons. I will have a bonus episode. It'll come out. It'll actually be on the Patreon page, and you will be able to see it if you are of that tier of subscriber. Now, if you say to me, Kyle, what if I want to do X amount of dollars? That's not one of those. Okay, cool. You do whatever you want. Do whatever you feel called to do. Do whatever you feel this show is worth. But trust me, you can't take money. You can only give. You can't take money. So when I say you can do what you feel this show is worth, you can't take money. It's not that bad. Come on. But no, any dollar amount you feel like doing. If you want to do $1 a month just to say you're doing something, hey, cool. I'm totally good with that. So we've spent 2.5 years, almost 2.5 years, trying to build this show up and trying to make it something and trying to show you guys that it's worth your time and trouble. And it has been met with mostly positive results and response. So now, after putting in all that effort of 2.5 years to show you guys it's worth it, I'm hoping now you will come in on the backside of it and say, yes, we feel it is worth it, and we feel it's worth it this much. Whatever that much is. Again, you can put 50 cents and say you suck, but I want to keep seeing you sweat every week on your show. Fine. Okay, I'm good with that. Just sign up and do your thing. So it's going to launch tomorrow. I'm going to share it to the Facebook page on Tuesday, probably Tuesday evening, or maybe even Wednesday morning, just so people have time to see this and you get my reasoning behind it. And I'm not just throwing stuff out there and you're like, what is this clown doing? Like, what? He just thinks we're going to sign up for this. He hasn't said anything about it. He just puts it out there. This guy is the worst. We do not like him at all. Now, I want people to see this and at least kind of know why I'm doing it. This is the why. I'm hoping it's a smash success. Let's be honest, because there's so many races out there that I want to do. People send me races all the time. Hey, you got to do this race. It's really awesome. Or, hey, I did this race and I'd love to hear what you think about it. Or do this race because they are super great people. Or do that race because it's a super great cause. I'm in for all of it. The problem is it all takes money. And trust me, I do these trips bare bottom dollar. I'm staying at the Econo Lodge. I am driving. I'm not flying. I'm eating off the dollar menu. Trust me, I'm doing things as cheap as I can because I want to get out and do more of these races. I want to go cover the races. I want to meet with the race people. I want to bring it to you the best that I can. And to do that, it takes the funds. So this is my attempt to try and get the funds to help us expand this show to go to more places. Trust me, as selfish as this sounds, if this thing made enough that I could quit my day job and just do this, that is what I'm pretty sure heaven would look like. If I didn't have to be a banker by day and a podcaster by night, if I could just do all the races and cover them all and bring you guys multiple episodes a week or whatever you wanted, boy, howdy, I would be in for that. But that's putting the cart before the horse, and we're not going to do that right now. Let's see if we even get one person to donate $1, because right now we're sitting at goose egg because I haven't put it out there yet. But either which way, it's a huge help. If there is, I put out there, and you can see it. It's all out there in writing. I put out there what the benefits of the tiers are. If you think of something, be like, hey, I would love to see you do blah or whatever. I'm listening. I got my ears on. I'm up for any suggestions that you might have. So that's where we're at with that. So for the second part of 2024, we're going to see if we can't start making this thing not a complete loss. How about that? Like, profitable would be great. How about just not a complete loss? Because right now every penny spent is penny out of our accounts, and you know how that is. I don't know why I'm talking to you guys like this is all taboo or anything. You know how the economy is. You know how life is right now, man. It's tough out there. So I'm asking you for money. I get that that's kind of weird, but that's where we are. If you enjoy this, help a brother out. If you don't, you can't take the money from me. So on you. But anyway, so there we go. That's all I'm going to say about it. I'm going to post it out there. Might refresh it from time to time. I would love your support. Absolutely would love your support if you like what we're doing and if you're willing to try and help this thing grow and get a little bigger and a little bigger and a little bigger. And, let's just take over the entire podcasting world. Again, I don't ask for much. I don't ask for much. I just want to control the entire podcasting world. Is that so much to ask? I didn't think so. So there we go. That really is what this week's episode is about. It's my public plea for support. And then, of course, we went over the little bit of the nutrition aspects. We're going to make it a dry month, at least for me. You certainly don't have to. But if we go out, I'm drinking water or probably tea. I'm big on the tea. Tea works for me. And so we've got 2 half marathons coming up this weekend, which that's going to be something. Then after that, we're going to a brand new race. The I Want to Rock 5K is coming up. That is in Overland Park, Kansas. A brand new race. Never been done before. The medals look really cool. It's a complete 80s rock themed 5K. I'm in for that. So if you're local to Kansas City, please join us at the I Want to Rock 5K. So 2 half marathons, I Want to Rock 5K. Don't have anything yet at the end of June. And then we get into July, which on the 4th of July, we have the Stars and Stripes 5K. And then our boy William, Cody, and myself, making terrible decisions, are all going to go out to El Dorado, Kansas on July 6th for the Hell on Gravel Ultra. Now, I am not running an ultra. You can't make me do it. I'm doing the half marathon, but this is a gravel race. It's a self-supported race, no aid stations. And again, it's gravel the entire way. It's in July, and it's in the middle of God's nowhere. So this is going to be about as close to ultra as I'm ever going to get. But that's what we're doing. All 3 of us are doing the half marathon. We're going to road trip down there, stay the night, and then we're coming back. Chihuahuas. That one's going to be rough. But that's what's coming up. So there's just a little bit of the calendar. I know that our website has had some issues lately. So we had our domain through Google. Google sold their domain services to a place called Square something. Square site? Square, I don't know. They sold it off to something. Since the move to this new site, it hasn't worked. We are working on it. We're fighting with it. We're going to completely move the domain to a completely new carrier, but that takes a little bit of time. So I'm sorry if you tried to go to the calendar and you can't see anything. If you feel like typing a lot, you can actually go to the back of the pack podcast.com, all one word, and that still gets you to our site. But if you go to botppod.com, that's not working right now. We're working on it. We're aware, and I'm really sorry. Technology, they've really messed us over on that. And then the last thing, and then I promise I'm going to shut the heck up. Last week, talking about Fargo. It must have been the Midwestern in me, and I'm sorry. I need to apologize because apparently I was saying their former race director's name completely wrong. Now, how I was up there the whole time and I never heard it said, or it just didn't register in my ear that they were saying it differently than I read it. So the last name was Knutson. So I said Knutson. I just left the K off. I left it silent. No, it actually was Knutson. So it was Mark Knutson, the former race director for Fargo. The 5K was in his honor. The celebratory mile during the race was in his honor. It's Knutson. 2 people messaged me and said, dude, you are completely off on the way you're saying it. I own it, and I want to apologize. I'm very sorry. I hope I did not deeply offend anyone from Fargo. It was not intentional, complete mistake. My Midwestern in me just read it that way, and that's how I spewed it out. But I was wrong, Knutson, and I apologize. So I just wanted to get that on official record because goodness knows I'm not perfect. And now that I asked you for money and then admitted the error, maybe you never made it this far in the podcast. No, I'm kidding. Totally kidding. All right. This weekend, we'll see you guys in Clinton, Missouri for the Clinton Historic Half. Then we'll see you Sunday morning in St. Joe for the hometown half. Cody, you are lucky I like you because this just sounds ridiculous, and both days temperatures in the 90s. So this is going to be a lot of fun. Anyway, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Back of the Pack podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Walker. It is my pleasure, as always. Please look for the link to Patreon and do whatever you feel called to do once we get that released later this week. Everyone have a safe week of training. Be careful of the heat because the heat and the humidity are coming back, especially here in the Midwest, and I'm sure wherever you are as well. Have that safe week of training. We will see you next week.